I've been lying in this dungeon since I was 18. 10 lonely years of my life taken. I've been living in the pages of a magazine. Breaks my heart to awaken, setting me free. Sleep, come free me. Please, please, please set me free. Set me free. One, two, three, four. There's an E minor chord and a D chord, but you only need the first two strings of the D chord, and that's with an E bass as well. The first two beats are the open E string. The next beat is pinching the first three strings of this E minor chord. And the next beat, the fourth beat, is the D chord, and you slide into that on the first string. And on the second string, if you can, hammer onto it. So you start with the 5th fret, and you hammer onto the 3rd fret. Now, an easier way to do that is to forget about hammering on the second string and just slide down on the first string, and it sounds pretty close. Like that. So measure 1. Now measure 2 starts on the second beat, and it's like this. So 2, 3, 4. Start with an open E string, and then a hammer and pull off on the A string on the 1st fret for the 3rd beat, and then the 3rd fret of the E string. So from the beginning, that's the first two measures. The 3rd measure is like this. So that is the open G string, 2nd fret of the D string, and then 2 quick bass E string notes, because the first time you do this, you're doing it 1, 2. But when you come back to it, you're going like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So the first 3 measures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. He starts singing. He goes like this. I've been lying in this. So this time, you're pinching E minor and the D, the first 3 strings, but now you're playing a full D. But it's with an E bass though. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the next measure is you're staying on that D chord and you're droning on the bass E string a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. Going from an A sus4 to an A. You hit the A string first for 2 beats. 1, 2, and you're pinching the D, G, and B strings together. So 1, 2, 3, and then on the 4th beat, you pinch the same 3 strings on the A chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. I was 18, like that. So the next measure is like this. And that is the open A string for a beat, and the open E string for a half beat, and the 2nd fret of the E string for another half beat, and then back to the A string to finish off the measure. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. From this part, from the A sus4, and then it goes to a D chord for 4 beats, a B7 for 4 beats, So I'm hitting the bass string and then a couple of strums or whatever you want to do after the bass string. It's important just to make those bass strings sound out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the next two measures are on a C chord, but you start with an open D string. Counting it out, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then you go to a G chord, hit the bass string, and then some strums to fill in the measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a D chord, same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you go to the A chords again. But this time you start with the A chord, and then you go up to the A sus4 and back to the A. So you start with the A string, and then pinch 4 strings with the A chord. So that's the A string, and then the G string, B string, and E strings. You can get all 4 at once. So right after doing the pinching of those 4 strings, you slide up on the B string to the 3rd fret. So like this. So immediately after the pinch. Then come back to the A chord and pinch those 4 strings again. So in total, right after doing this, I can hear James Taylor doing this. So that's the 2nd fret of the E string, followed by the open A string. And the timing of it is, like if you count out 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and again, would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so. The 2nd fret of the E string comes on the and after the 2. And then on beat 3 is the open A string. Then the F sharp minor 7th chord, I'm just putting a bar across the 2nd fret and not playing the A string. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a B7 played like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. From the A chords, the progression is like this. That's 2 measures. So that is pinching the E, G, and B strings, and then hitting the D string. So you can see I'm doing that on the first 3 chords like that. E minor, D with an F sharp bass, same thing on the G chord. And when you go to this G sharp transition chord, what I'm doing is I'm just pinching the E, G, and E strings at once and holding that for 2 beats and not playing the D string after that. So these 2 measures, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then back to the A sus4 and A again. Same way. So then you go to a D chord and a B7 again, but this time there's only 3 beats on the D chord and 5 beats on the B7. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you go back to this. And then you do the progression again. The next 2 measures. And then back to the A sus4 and A again. Same way. And then 3 beats on the D chord again and 5 on the B7. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then back to or. And you do that a couple times, and you start singing the next verse.